During a life-changing family CEO meeting, my daughter-in-law revealed her hidden pain. Shut up. The words erupted from Sarah's lips like a volcano, shattering the carefully curated atmosphere of our family bakery. Silence swallowed the room, her fierce emotion ricocheting off the walls, carrying the weight of years of unexpressed struggles. This wasn't just about the Johnson family business. It was the outcry of a woman who felt invisible, forging her place in a world that often mistook her dreams for mere delusions. As I forced myself to focus, the aroma of fresh bread filled the air, mingling with the tension. I had spent weeks preparing for this annual meeting, a ritual where the family would gather to crunch numbers and evaluate our humble bakery's growth. The Johnson family bakery wasn't just our livelihood. It was the heart of our shared history, the sweet canvas upon which memories were painted. My hands trembled slightly as I presented our successes, but beneath each bullet point revised growth charts and projected revenues lay a bubbling cauldron of unseen anxieties. Then Sarah stood, her face flushed with frustration. I felt my breath hitch. Shut up, she shouted again, her voice raw. The force of her vulnerability felt electric, igniting a fire that had long burned quietly in the shadows. For years, I'd watched her pour herself into our family with relentless ambition, yet I had never fully acknowledged her, inadvertently casting her contribution into the shadows. As she spoke, the flickering candle flames illuminated her tear-streaked face, fragile yet fierce. Sarah fought to articulate her experience as a first-generation immigrant, that muddy barrier between dreams and devastating reality that often left her gasping for breath. You don't know what it's like to have your successes measured against your skin color, she cried, the pain etched into her every word. I'm always told to be grateful, to blend in, but I have my own dreams. Her poignant declaration pierced through our protective family facade. The room thickened with discomfort as generations of unspoken pain swirled in that small space, reminding us that the American dream is often a mirage cloaked in privilege and prejudice. Mark Johnson, proud owner of a flourishing bakery, suddenly felt mahogany heavy with the weight of misunderstandings and missed opportunities. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying this content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let us continue. As her voice faded into the stillness, realization dawned upon me. This bakery wasn't merely a business. It was a living testament to our family's struggles, a conduit for our hopes and dreams. I realized I had been so focused on safeguarding our legacy that I'd overlooked the heart of our family, its very diversity, the beautiful tapestry woven from distinct voices and experiences. I felt my heart race, torn between tradition and progress, as the air pulsated with possibilities. I stared at Sarah, her fiery spirit flickering like the bakery's embers, ready to ignite transformation. The meeting had shifted from a sterile corporate assessment to a poignant conversation about belonging and recognition. How do we move forward from here? I wondered, as the clock silently ticked into the night, holding both the promise of hope and the weight of uncertainty. The air was thick with emotions as we all exchanged glances, unsure of how to respond to Sarah's eruption. I could see the surprise etched on my son David's face, his brow furrowed with concern. This wasn't the structured meeting we had all anticipated. No, this was uncharted territory, a place where raw, unfiltered feelings took precedence over business strategies. David started, his voice trembling slightly. But she raised a hand, silencing him with a softness that clashed against the fire of her earlier outburst. I need to finish, she said firmly, her resolve shining through the tears. I've always been the one working behind the scenes, supporting everyone. But being an outsider in this family business, it's discouraged me. I feel like I'm fighting for a seat at this table, and every time I try to speak, I'm dismissed. A lump formed in my throat. Her words mirrored my own fears, but in a new light. I had been too preoccupied with the numbers and spreadsheets to see the unease beneath the surface. Maybe I had been as blind as the rest of them. Each of us carried dreams, but those dreams often became suffocated under the weight of expectations. Sarah, I struggled to find the right words, but my mind was racing. I didn't want to invalidate her feelings, yet all I could think of was preserving our family's legacy. What can we do? How do we fix this? I want to have a say in the bakery's future, she replied, her voice steadier now. I want to bring my ideas to the table, not just my labor. We can expand our offerings, reach new customers, celebrate our roots while honoring this family's journey. But I can't do it while being pushed aside. A silence fell over us, heavy and contemplative. I could see the others nodding, slowly coming to understand the depth of her plea. To elevate Sarah meant to elevate our family. And isn't that what we had always stood for? Growth, togetherness, and embracing our differences? Let us do it, I said, a spark igniting within. Let us create an action plan together. We can listen to each other's ideas, incorporate what everyone has to say. I want this bakery to reflect all of us, to tell our full story. David exchanged a glance with Sarah, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly. I'm on board too. Let us not ignore what we've all been through, or our dreams. We can make this place sing in a fresh way. Tension melted into hopeful smiles. As we began to brainstorm, ideas flowed. We started with simple things: Sarah's childhood recipes mingled with traditional Johnson family favorites, featuring vibrant flavors that represented our heritage. By the end of the night, we had a solid list of new initiatives that made everyone's eyes sparkle with excitement. But as I looked at Sarah, a flickering thought nagged at me. Could we truly change the culture of our family business? Would we, at last, embrace each other's strengths and voices? Before we wrap up, I said, holding her gaze, let's promise to focus on our individual passions moving forward. No one should feel invisible here again. Agreed? She nodded slowly, her expression a vulnerable mix of hope and uncertainty. I agree. But it's going to take time, and more importantly, commitment from everyone. Unexpected warmth washed over me as we all nodded, ready to embrace this journey, ready to shift the tides. Just then, a familiar voice cut through my reverie. It was Judy from the front, asking if anyone could help prepare the morning pastries. Her single question hung in the air like a gentle reminder of our daily grind. I glanced towards Sarah, seeing worry flicker across her face. How do we balance this new energy with everyday demands? Sarah wondered aloud, and even as determination pulsed through me, I couldn't help but wonder, would we be able to keep this momentum alive, or would the day-to-day grind snuff out our newfound dreams? The kitchen buzzed with the familiar sounds of whisking and dough kneading. Sweet scents wafted through the air, piercing the tension that had recently filled the meeting room. Yet, as I watched Sarah prepare the pastries, I noticed the way her hands moved hesitant, as if she were holding back a piece of herself. Let us divide the tasks for tomorrow, I suggested to the group. We can set aside some time to keep this momentum going while tackling our everyday responsibilities. It might help integrate new ideas into the daily routine. David grabbed a sheet of paper and started jotting down roles. I can manage the layout for the new display case, with Sarah's ideas. We can showcase her recipes and that remix for the holiday specials, he said. There was a spark in his voice, a glimmer of fatherly pride mixed with support for his wife's vision. Sarah turned to him, her expression shifting from worry to warmth. That would be amazing. I have a few ideas already about flavor pairings that I think people will love. The idea of teamwork began to bubble with excitement. I felt a flicker of hope, imagining our bakery alive with fresh energy. Yet that flicker quickly smothered beneath the weight of reality. Great. We can add more seasonal items and maybe even dinner options, I added as the group began to toss around ideas. But we need to consider the hours that go into these creations. Expanding means more hands on deck. Just then, guilt washed over me. Was I throwing too much on Sarah? I watched her work, the smile on her face fading as she widened her eyes at the thought of stretching everyone too thin. Mom, I think David started, but Sarah cut him off gently. I'm all in, really. But we can't burn out, she said, her gaze steady. This is what I've always wanted, to contribute more than just my labor, but I don't want to lose what we have either. The room fell silent. Each of us wrestled with her words. I could see it on David's face. He was torn between excitement for change and the fear of demanding too much from Sarah. Life is a balancing act, I said softly. We have to don't just pull together our new ideas, but also ensure no one feels overwhelmed. We're all growing here. Sarah smiled faintly and nodded. We need to set realistic goals and celebrate every small win. Making room for our creative energy doesn't mean sacrificing the love we've poured into this bakery all these years. The conversation shifted, slowly transforming from anxiety to excitement. We tossed around a million ideas, talking about themed cupcake weekends and baking classes that would engage the community. The feelings of possibility swirled around us like flour in a mixer, creating a concoction I hadn't anticipated. Yet, as the ideas blossomed, a familiar anxiety crept in the back of my mind. Would we really follow through? Would our newfound unity be enough to withstand the daily grind we had faced in the past? As I looked into each of their eyes, my son, my daughter-in-law, our staff, I felt an urge to ask the burning question, what happens if we fail? Before I could voice my thoughts, Judy popped her head through the kitchen door again, this time with her hands on her hips and a sly smile. All this dreaming is great, but do any of you know how to make the cookies for tomorrow? Laughter erupted, a break in the tension that had previously overshadowed our plans. But as we returned to our tasks, I couldn't shake the feeling that our journey was just beginning. Okay, team, let us get these cookies going, I called out, rallying us together. But as we mixed and baked, the question lingered in my heart, poised like a half-baked idea waiting for a chance to rise. Would this dream unite us or tear us apart? The scent of fresh-baked cookies filled the kitchen, but instead of sweetening the air, it seemed thick with unspoken feelings. Sarah worked diligently, her brow furrowed in concentration. I admired her dedication, but worried about the undercurrent of tension that lingered. David, can you grab the flour? I called out, hoping the mundane task would distract us from the emotional weight settling in the room. As he moved to the pantry, I glanced at Sarah again. Something deep inside held her back, the way she rolled the dough too gently, as if it were something fragile. Just a pinch more of the chocolate chips, please, I instructed. We want them decadent. David nodded, but I could see that his mind was elsewhere, probably thinking about the discussion we had just had. As he sprinkled in more chips, a silence fell among us. Each of our hearts echoed a quiet concern. Had we done the right thing by moving forward with all these new ideas? Sarah paused, wiping flour from her hands onto her apron. I need to talk, she said, her voice breaking the silence. We all looked at her, the laughter fading. There was a seriousness in her tone that shifted our focus completely. I felt my stomach knot. What's on your mind? I urged gently. She swallowed hard, glancing at David before meeting my eyes again. I've been feeling overwhelmed, she admitted. I want this bakery to thrive, I really do, but I'm scared. I need to be more involved, but I'm not sure I can keep up with everything. The vulnerability in her voice grated against the hope we had conjured only moments before. The initial instinct was to reassure her, to sweep away her worries with words of encouragement. But I hesitated, wanting to hear more. I put pressure on myself to be perfect, to make this work. I don't want to let anyone down, she continued. Each word she spoke dropped like pebbles into a still pond, making ripples that felt heavy. But it's getting harder to juggle everything. I fear that if I can't do it all, I'll disappoint you and David. I don't want to let my dreams become a burden to the team. I exchanged glances with David, who looked equally pained. Sarah, he said, stepping closer. We're in this together. You don't have to carry this weight alone. You can lean on us. Tears glistened in Sarah's eyes, reflecting the hopes and fears that had twisted within her since we first discussed expanding the bakery. I just love this place so much, and I love you guys, she said, her voice trembling. I reached out, taking her hands in mine. It's okay to be vulnerable. It can't always be about the business. It has to be about us first. We need to remember to care for each other as much as for the bakery. A wave of relief washed over Sarah, her shoulders lifting just a fraction. The conversation shifted from anxiety to something warmer, creating a bond that was reaffirmed in our shared fears. But as we began packing the cookies into boxes, I couldn't shake the worry that had crept back in. It felt like a storm cloud loomed over our newfound unity, making me wonder how long we could maintain this emotional balance. "Mom, we need to keep this conversation going," David said, supportive as always. "We can talk every week, check in, make sure no one feels too much pressure. Communication will be key." As we nodded, each of us feeling the weight of staying connected, the kitchen door swung open again. A gust of cold air whipped through, startling us momentarily. "Did someone say cookies?" Judy exclaimed, eyes sparkling with excitement as she rushed in. We laughed. After the heaviness of our discussion, Judy's lightheartedness offered us a reprieve. "Yes, just in time. We need your expert taste test," I said, motioning for her to join us. The warmth returned, but as we continued, the question lingered like the aroma of baking sweets in the air. Could we truly balance dreams and realities without losing ourselves in the process? With every cookie we placed in the boxes, one thought echoed louder in my mind. If we didn't find that balance soon, we might just end up with more than baked goods on our plates. The laughter faded as quickly as it had come, leaving a slight chill in the air. Just when I thought we could distract ourselves with the simplicity of cookies and laughter, Judy's cheerful demeanor reminded me of the fragile threads that held us together. When the kitchen door swung shut behind her, it left too much quiet in its wake, a silence that seemed to amplify our unexpressed worries. "Mom, can you help me with this one?" David asked, breaking the tension. He was stacking boxes, but his eyes darted uncertainly between Sarah and me, reflecting an awareness that we were still in delicate territory. "Of course, sweetie." I moved to join him, but my heart remained with Sarah. She was standing there, still, lost in thought as if the weight of the world were tangled in her apron strings. "Do you want to join us?" I asked her softly, my voice quieter now. "We can talk some more." Sarah shook her head and took a deep breath. I appreciated it really. I need to think things through. Maybe I should just step back for a bit. The words rolled off her tongue, but they felt like inevitable stones tumbling down a mountainside. "Step back?" I echoed, surprised. "But you're the heart of this bakery, Sarah. We need you." "I need you." My voice cracked a little, and I could feel the urgency swell inside me. "I know," she whispered, her fingers tracing the flour-dusted countertop, leaving delicate imprints that mirrored her internal struggle. "It's just that sometimes I feel like I'm losing myself in all of this. I wanted this bakery to be my dream, but now." Her voice trailed off, leaving a chasm of uncertainty. "Now, it feels like you might be losing it," David finished her thought, eyes steady as he searched her face. "But that doesn't have to happen. If you need to take a step back, we'll make it work. We can shift responsibilities, communicate better. It doesn't have to be all on you." The sincerity in his words seemed to float in the space between us, a promise that lingered, but it couldn't quiet the storm inside Sarah. "I don't want to be a burden," she confessed, her voice just above a whisper, full of unguarded vulnerability. "It's so scary. What if I can't pull my weight? What if you guys would be better off without me?" David stepped closer to her, his arm reaching out tentatively. "What if? You should be asking yourself what happens if you stay and hide those feelings." Her gaze fell to the floor, as if gathering courage. "I just don't want to let you down. You both have dreams and goals, and I want to support those. But when I should be excited, I feel this weight pressing down." My heart ached for her. The weight she described echoed my own fears. I reached out to comfort her. "But we can't do this without you. The joy in baking, running this place, it's about the three of us. It has to be a shared journey." I paused, letting the words settle around us. "You're not a burden. You're family." The warmth of the moment wrapped around us again, but the doubt still flickered in Sarah's eyes. "I just need something. Maybe a change? I don't know what it looks like, but I know I can't keep suppressing this fear." "Then let us explore that together," David said. We'll find a way to shake things up, maybe new recipes, themes, whatever you need. Let us reignite that passion inside you. The idea felt contagious, a spark almost igniting. The warmth in Sarah's eyes flickered again, but this time, there was a shadow of possibility. Really? You think we can? What choice do we have? David said with a crooked smile. We're in this as a team, after all. As we all stood there, a flicker of hope blossoming, I realized something important. Maybe this moment was more than just about cookies. It was a chance for vulnerability, for growth, and for discovering new paths together. But just then, the bakery door opened yet again, bursting open to let a gust of wind swirl inside, carrying the sweet aroma of the cookies mixed with something harsher. An unexpected figure appeared in the doorway. The light shifted, and my stomach dropped. Did someone say a change? The figure grinned, and I recognized the voice instantly. Because I have some ideas that might blow you all away. My heart raced as I prepared for whatever was to come next, the air crackling now with anticipation and unforeseen challenges. What could possibly unfold in our hidden struggles? Shut up, Casey, the newcomer exclaimed, a mix of excitement and bravado swirling in the air. The energy in the room shifted as he stepped inside, his grin proudly masking the tension that reigned just moments before. It took me a beat to process the voice. Ryan, Sarah's ex-boyfriend, a figure from the past I had hoped would stay there. He had always been someone who lit up a room, his charm infectious, but this wasn't a social gathering. This was about us, about healing, and his presence felt intrusive. Still, I couldn't deny the flair he brought. A certain electricity buzzed around him. Sarah's tone was cautious, yet curious. What are you doing here? I heard you guys were making some big changes, and I thought I'd stop by. See if I could help. His confident tone draped over us, but I could see the shadows in Sarah's eyes deepen. A rush of protective instinct surged through me. We appreciate the thought, but I think we're figuring things out for ourselves, I said, carefully measuring my words. It felt essential to protect Sarah from the kind of upheaval Ryan often embodied, exciting, but unpredictable. Yeah, but come on. He waved a hand dismissively. Sometimes you need an outsider's perspective. I've got a ton of ideas. New themes, collaborations. This place can be more than just a bakery. It could be the hub of the community. He leaned in closer, excitement lighting up his expression. David shifted uneasily. We're just trying to rebuild and find a clearer direction right now. We can do this together. His eyes darted between us, caught in the middle of a brewing storm. I'm all for that, Ryan reassured, his gaze fixated on Sarah. But wouldn't it be fun to take some risks? Remember that crazy idea we talked about back in college? A pop-up bakery, a street fair, maybe even a food truck? We could turn this place into something wild and unforgettable. Sarah hesitated, her mind clearly racing. I noticed a glimmer of thrill in her eyes as Ryan laid out his ideas like a buffet of dreams. He had always had that effect on her, but it frightened me. Did she truly want to dive back into that chaos? Look, Ryan, it's not that easy, Sarah interjected, pulling herself together. I've been trying to find my footing here, and having you swoop and having fun, swooping. It's learning to enjoy what you have while you create something new. That what everyone wants. He argued, his voice rising with enthusiasm. My heart raced as I watched the wheels turn in Sarah's mind. Would she let his magnetic force coax her into a whirlwind of uncertainty again? Maybe I do want to shake things up, she finally admitted, her voice softer now, yet the uncertainty glimmered beneath. But I need to know we can build it together, that it won't just be wild. Then let us redefine wild together. Ryan persisted, undeterred. An adventure. It could breathe fresh air into this bakery, and into you, Sarah. You need that, right? A change? The air grew thick with anticipation. I wanted to reach out, remind her of the delicate strands connecting us, the fears and emotions we had just shared. But Ryan was a tempest in a teacup, and I could feel his pull. Maybe he represented the kind of change Sarah was craving, but it scared me to think she might dive recklessly into that ocean. What if we did try something new? David finally chimed in, his own excitement bubbling up beneath the surface. What if we take Ryan's ideas and curate them into something that feels right for us, all together? It doesn't have to be chaotic. Solidarity with David swelled in my chest, but I felt the push and pull of desires clashing around us. Did we dare to entertain this whirlwind of a change? Just then, Sarah fixed her eyes on Ryan, a small smile creeping onto her face. Maybe, just maybe we could brainstorm together. My heart sank and soared at once. Would this be a way forward, or just another mess waiting to happen? All right, I said, feeling the weight of uncertainty press down. Let us see what those ideas are. But know this, we do it our way. No putting any pressure on Sarah. As we all gathered around the table, uncertain yet somehow unified, I couldn't help but wonder, what if this mix of old and new could save us? Or would it send us spiraling into deeper chaos than we ever thought possible? The anticipation crackled in the air, leaving me with one question as we began brainstorming. How far was too far for the sake of reclaiming dreams? The atmosphere buzzed with a peculiar mix of enthusiasm and wariness. Around the worn wooden table, I fidgeted with a napkin, steadying my breath. The light from the overhead fixtures cast a soft glow, illuminating the faces of my friends, each brimming with possibility, yet edged with uncertainty. Ryan leaned forward, his eyes sparkling with ideas. All right, how about a community baking night? We can invite locals to showcase their specialties, turn it into a festival. He animatedly sketched a layout on the napkin, each swirl and line pulling Sarah deeper into his world. That could be great for business, David agreed, his tone cautious, not wanting to rain on their parade. I don't know, Ryan, Sarah interjected, her voice trembling with apprehension. We need to make sure we have our foundation first. But each suggestion Ryan tossed into the air felt magnetic. Imagine a food truck. We could hit the farmer's market every Saturday, raise some buzz. I mean, who wouldn't want to eat artisanal pastries on the go? His excitement was contagious, seeping into the cracks of Sarah's reservations. I watched her face, torn between the fire of ambition igniting in her chest and the flickering embers of fear that threatened to hold her back. I could feel her internal battle, see the reflection of old wounds surfacing as she entertained Ryan's visions. Each idea was a wave, crashing against the shore of her doubt. What about partnership with local artisans? We could blend our bakery with their crafts. It'll be unique. Ryan kept the momentum going, eyes dancing, challenging Sarah to keep up. Partnership sounds good, but what about the workload? Would we be able to handle it? David raised a valid concern. Before anyone could respond, Ryan pressed on. You guys haven't even heard the best part. He leaned back, theatrically pausing. We'll throw a gala. Just picture it. Artsy decor, local music, and a whole night to showcase what we can do together. The idea hung in the air, intoxicating yet disorienting. A gala, Sarah murmured, her eyes drifting off, lost in thoughts of grandeur. It could be a great way to attract attention to the bakery, David chimed in, hopeful. We could even launch a new signature line of pastries. As they started brainstorming flavors and decor, I felt like an intruder on a private moment between Sarah and the dreams she shared with Ryan. There was a palpable shift in Sarah, a hesitance crumbling just slightly beneath the weight of these exciting visions. I could almost hear the soft crinkle of her buried fears awakening. Still, a nagging worry pricked at me. These ideas are incredible, but my voice cut through their excitement. We need to keep in mind what we're really ready for. None of this works if we aren't grounded. Ryan shrugged, flashing his irresistible grin. Sometimes you need to leap before you look, right? Isn't that what life is about? The statement hung heavily in the air. Crossing my arms defensively, I caught Sarah's gaze again. She was torn, visibly wrestling with the allure of chaos Ryan offered versus the safety of our solid plans. I could see it in her eyes, the struggle to reclaim her dreams, yet fear looming larger than she wanted to acknowledge. Suddenly, Ryan's hand shot up, breaking the moment. And what if we create a community cook-off? Create a buzz with live demonstrations. We can even film it, turn it into content for social media. It could go viral. A ripple of excitement spread through the table. Laughter bubbled as ideas bounced around, yet my heart ached. I wanted to protect her from Ryan's whirlwind, from her own cravings for something more. But it was evident the pull of change was far too enticing. What if this was a slippery slope and avenue to hope? Tell me, Sarah, I pressed, what do you truly want? She paused, the buzz fading for just a moment, leaving silence thick with anticipation. Her eyes locked on mine, hinting at something deeper, something I wasn't sure I was ready to uncover. I want to feel alive again, she finally whispered, vulnerability seeping through. Her bravado, the air shifted again, filled with something heavy, something real. But with a promise of change, I couldn't help but wonder. Could this mix of reinvention and chaos really heal our wounds, or would it feed into the very fears that we fought so hard to escape? Ryan's enthusiasm hung in the room like a fragile balloon ready to pop, and in that moment, everything cracked and divided into 1,000 possibilities. I could see it in Sarah's face, the flicker of recognition ascending from the ashes of her fears. But just as quickly, the balloon threatened to deflate. Alive, she had said. What did it really mean to feel alive? The weight of it settled in my stomach like a stone, as if we were on the precipice of something monumental, but unease bore down on my shoulders. Ryan, unfazed by the sudden shift, hurriedly turned his attention to David. So, what flavors are we thinking for our signature pastries? We could do lavender honey, or maybe even a spicy chocolate. David's brow furrowed slightly, but he latched onto Ryan's enthusiasm. Definitely lavender that's got a unique twist, and it might call back to those old family recipes. I watched as they animatedly bounced from suggestions to flavors, the laughter slowly bubbling back into their veins. Yet, my gaze remained on Sarah. She was quieter now, her finger tracing circles on the old wood grain, her mind obviously elsewhere. Sarah, I said softly, trying to pull her back from the brink of her thoughts. What flavors do you see? What do you think people will love? Her eyes focused on me, as if snapping back from a distant place. I'm not sure, she murmured, the tremor of uncertainty creeping back into her voice.
C'est mon gars.
You've got this, Ryan insisted, nudging her shoulder playfully. You've always been our flavor guru. I want to hear your ideas. That infectious spirit flooded the air, yet Sarah still looked lost. I could sense her heart racing beneath her calm exterior, fluttering between contemplation and the fear of leaping into the unknown. What's holding you back? I probed gently. It's just her words came slowly, a hesitant unfolding. What if people don't like what we create? What if we fail? I've invested so much of my heart into this bakery already. What if it's not enough? Her vulnerability flickered, a candle in the breeze, and my heart ached at the admission. She had never shared her fears so openly before. It was like peeling back layers I hadn't known existed. Look, I said firmly but softly, failure is just a step in the process. You know that as bakers, each dough has to rise, sometimes it falls flat, and we re-knead it until it blossoms again. What if we fail but learn? Ryan leaned in, urgency in his voice. Exactly. The best things come out of trying. We're all in this together. It's not just you, it's us as a team. The air hung heavy around her, a pause that felt as vital as a deep breath. I could see her weighing Ryan's unwavering optimism against her fears. Then, like a flash of lightning, something shifted in her posture. A light ignited in her eyes as she locked eyes with me, resolve building. Okay. Let us not hold back. I'll think of flavors. I want our pastry line to be bold, to reflect who we are. A ripple of excitement coursed through the table again, and I could hear chuckles from David and Ryan as brainstorming resumed. But the weight of her earlier revelation remained thick in the air. We were dancing on the edge of something profound, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Laughter filled the room again. I couldn't help but wonder. If Sarah took this leap, what would she discover hidden deep within her? Would her desires finally flow freely, or was there still more to uncover beneath the surface? And as if sensing my thoughts, Sarah's gaze flitted back to mine, her smile tentative yet strong. We will make it matter, right? That simple question echoed in my mind, leading me to ponder one thing. What exactly would it take for all of us to truly feel alive? As the warmth of Sarah's resolve mingled with the lingering tension, something shifted in the room. It was as though the very air we breathed had been charged with potential. Ryan and David were deep in conversation now, swapping stories of their past baking escapades. Laughter tightened the bonds around the table, but I could still feel the weight of Sarah's question heavy in the corner. "Let's do something different," I suggested, wanting to make sure she didn't retreat into herself again. "What if we each choose a personal memory that ties into a flavor? That could spark something truly special." Her expression transformed, dark clouds parting to let a hint of sunlight in. Memories flooded her features, as if she was sifting through colorful portraits in her mind. "That could work. I mean, every flavor has a story, right?" "Exactly." Ryan chimed in, his eyes lighting up. "Maybe we can pull from our childhoods, or even from family gatherings." Sarah tilted her head, lost for a moment before speaking again. "For me, it would have to be cinnamon. It's tied to my grandmother's kitchen, the way she would sprinkle it on everything. I still remember the smell wrapping around me, chasing away fears and filling me with warmth." "That is beautiful," David said, nodding. "We could create a cinnamon roll inspired by that memory. We could even add a twist, maybe a cream cheese frosting with hints of orange zest." "I love that!" Sarah exclaimed, her eyes brightening. The spark was back. As the energy surged around the table, I couldn't help but feel a swelling pride for both Sarah and the vision she was starting to embrace. The thought of her grandmother floated through the air with the scent of fresh baking. This was not just about pastries. This was an exploration of who we were and the courage it took to expose our pasts. "I have a peach cobbler memory," Ryan joined in, recalling hazy summer days. "My mom would make it for us after we'd spend hours picking peaches at the orchard. The way the buttery crust crumbled, it was everything." "Nothing says summer quite like that," David replied, always one for poignant details. "We could layer it into a dessert, maybe with granola and a hint of bourbon?" I flicked my eyes between them, feeling the tide shift. Everyone was beginning to contribute, weaving in rich textures of their own histories. But as I watched Sarah, her initial trepidation gradually morphing into stepping stones of confidence, I yearned for her to dig deeper. "Maybe we should explore the flavors of loss too," I interjected. "We all have our hurdles. What if we tapped into flavors that reflect our struggles, our pain?" Sarah's smile faltered for the briefest moment, but she didn't shy away. "I think that's important. Pain makes the sweet moments feel real." "Well," Ryan said carefully, "what about something that highlighted resilience? The way we rebuild from loss?" I saw a flicker of understanding pass between them, raw and real. Maybe it was the very act of creation of sharing that made the weight of their experiences lighter. Could we create a flavor that embodies healing? Sarah mused, her voice steadier now, recapturing the curiosity she had possessed at the start. "Like a chocolate with a hint of chili, something that says it's a little fiery but ultimately soothing." "Perfect," I replied, feeling gratitude swell inside me for this moment, this new chapter unfolding before us. The ideas flew like colors in the daylight, and the more we talked, the more the bakery took shape in our minds, a canvas where our truths would hold space. But even as I reveled in this connection, I could feel another wave of unease, the heaviness of uncried tears stirred in Sarah's chest. "All right," she said finally, her voice resonating with newfound determination. "But I'm terrified over what might come up when we delve into the darker flavors." As her gaze searched the room, I realized something powerful was boiling just beneath the surface. What would we uncover together if we plunged deeper? And how much more could we truly share before we reached the point of no return? The door to our culinary journey began to creak open, and the threshold loomed ahead like an unyielding path. Would we be able to face the raw truths lurking behind each flavor? That question hung like ripe fruit, tantalizing yet bittersweet. As the last suggestion hung in the air, the bakery felt charged. The aromas of flour and sugar mingled with the scent of honesty. This was more than just about baking now. It was about excavating memories, diving into the messy intricacies of our lives. Sarah glanced at each of us, her eyes sparkling with intrigue, yet clouded with concern. I think digging deeper might lead us somewhere we haven't been. What if those flavors make our pain too real? She whispered. A hush fell as her words settled around us like freshly sifted flour. I felt a stirring in my own heart. This was uncharted territory, an invitation to reshape our understanding of the bakery and ourselves. Sarah, I said gently, sometimes sharing our wounds makes the sweet taste even sweeter. We can transform our hurt into something beautiful. David chimed in, I think you're right, Mom. It's the contrasts that shape us. The bitter makes the sweet worthwhile. Just look at how chocolate shines against spices. Ryan nodded vigorously, his earlier bravado softening. Exactly. It's about blending those experiences. We could create something special, something the community can connect to. The momentum built again, and Sarah's stance shifted. Okay. Her spirit ignited. Let us take this leap together. Let us honor our pasts and turn it into something meaningful. A sense of unity blossomed, wrapping us together like the dough we kneaded daily. Then what about those layers? I proposed. Each creation could tell a story, layers reflecting our struggles and our resilience. Like a cake, David exclaimed, excitement sparking in his eyes. Each layer could represent a different part of our journey. The sweetness of joy, the bitterness of struggle, and the zest of hope. I watched Sarah process this, her face visibly easing. And at the end, a flourish of flavor that binds it all together, she suggested, as if tasting the possibilities on her tongue. Ryan leaned forward, entranced. We could call it the journey cake. A celebration of all the ups and downs. Let people know they aren't alone. This wasn't just creativity, it was catharsis. As we moved forward, ideas bounced fervently between us. I could see the sparks reigniting in Sarah. The shadows of uncertainty began to lift, replaced with hope and renewed passion. The kitchen buzzed with laughter and brainstorming, a whirlwind of inspiration that turned the air electric. Suddenly, Judy popped her head back in. What are you guys brewing up? Something life-changing. Ryan grinned. Wait until you hear our plans for a community event. We're blending our experiences into a cake. It's going to be amazing. Judy's eyes widened. I'm in. Let us make it a celebration of our journeys. Then, the enthusiasm turned contagious. We began discussing ingredients that represented our flavors, things that would resonate with the community, much like the memories we aim to share. The warmth of collaboration lit the space, surrounding us, comforting us. I glanced around the room, my heart swelling with pride as I saw Sarah at the center, her ideas flowing. It was a moment of transformation, a turning point not just for the bakery, but for all of us. She had found her voice, and it rang loud, filling the bakery with sweet possibility. With renewed vigor, the brainstorming continued long into the night. We sketched plans and turned recipes into symbols of resilience. The bakery wasn't just a place anymore. It was morphing into something more, a sanctuary woven with threads of love, courage, and authenticity. Finally, we gathered to share our thoughts on when we could launch this event. As tentative plans took shape, I knew for certain this bakery would finally reflect who we truly were. It would be a space where everyone's stories intertwined, where flavors spoke of belonging and love. As the gathering concluded, a comforting quiet enveloped the kitchen. We began packing up, but the fire didn't extinguish. It only glowed brighter. Let us promise to support each other on this journey, I said. We share the weight of our dreams, successes, and failures. Heads nodded around the table. An unbreakable bond was forming. I held Sarah's gaze, tears shimmering in my eyes. You're not invisible anymore. This is our family bakery, and now it will reflect every part of us. We are stronger together. In that moment, I felt the profound truth settle in. Transformation is often born out of bravery to face our truths, share our stories, and rise together. And with that, I knew we'd transformed not just our bakery, but our lives. Now, it's time to rise. We are ready, Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear your stories. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting our journey.